Hey, everybody. It's Leslyn Keith here again with you for another research update with lipedema and things that would concern people who have lipedema. And I have a wonderful paper to talk to you about today. Just remember that if you have a paper you would like me to review and take a look at, be sure and email it to me at leslyn@lipedemaproject.org. We'll post that for you to send me any of your concerns or comments. If you have trouble getting hold of the paper that I'm talking about, also give me contact me at that email and I can get you that paper. The one I'm doing today is widely available, so I don't think you should have any difficulty. And so the paper we're going to talk about today is here's the title, kind of a long title, but real-time visualization of enhanced lymphatic flow when using a non-pneumatic active compression device. And this was specifically using the participants all had lipedema. And so, but what's unusual about this is it's talking about a non-pneumatic compression device. And many of you may have heard about pumps, pneumatic compression device. So it's a device that fills up with air and it does like a kind of a massaging movement on you, using air to make the compression. This device that they used in this study was a non-pneumatic device. So it's a device that doesn't use air to make compression. So I thought you would find this interesting because it's a different kind of device, but supposed to work very similarly to a pneumatic pump. So this one, it just came out in December of 2023. So let's talk about this paper a little bit. Another definition I got to do for you, because this study was called a controlled prospective open label study. So it was called a controlled study because the participants were being measured against themselves. So they started with this data to start the study. And then at the end of the study, they had whatever it changed. And so they were being compared to themselves. But it's called open label because that means that there was nobody was kept in the dark about what was happening. So sometimes you have either the researchers or the participants don't know all of what's being looked at. And everybody knew everything. So there was nothing that was being disguised. So that was an interesting aspect of this study. So what did they use to see how it worked with this non-pneumatic compression device? They used icy green. Another interesting thing, anytime we can do that with participants on lipedema, that's always enlightening. They also use bioimpedance, and this is a way to be able to tell the tissue composition or your body composition. It's looking at fluid content, fat content, and lean mass content. And so those were being looked at. They also did some kind of quality of life measure. They didn't say what that was, but they did discuss in the paper about changes in quality of life. And the other thing was that they looked at the tissue quality in the fibrosis, or, that scar tissue that can build up to make the tissue very firm. And so they were also looking at that. So very interesting, but it was a small sample size. It was basically 3 case reports. So they were looking at 3 individuals that had lipedema, and they were using this device on them and then taking various measurements. Even though it was a very small group, I think there are some really interesting things in this study that you will find interesting. First, let me tell you a little bit more about that non-pneumatic device. This is a product by Koya Medical. It's the DaySpring device, and it has something called a smart metal alloy called flex frames. And so these flex frames compress in a rhythmic pattern that mimics or is similar to a pneumatic pump. And so instead of filling up with air, these metal frames, of course, covered in cushioned fabric and everything, compress in a rhythmic manner. The other interesting thing about this particular device is that it is wearable while you're being active. So you put it on your legs, and then it has a battery, and then you go out and do everything. Same thing for your arms. And because it can be wearable and you can be active while you're using it, then there is the theory that that muscle action from you being active also can help break down fibrosis, but also pump fluid, because we know that activity and muscle contraction also enhances lymphatic flow. So it is a very unusual device, and I was happy to see a paper come out about using it on people with lipedema. So let's talk a little bit about now the 3 participants that were in the study. They all had lipedema in actually their arms and their legs. So, and as we're finding more and more about lipedema, we're seeing that it is much more common in the arms than we originally thought. It was always a discussion that it's kind of something that mostly affects the lower body, but we're seeing that it does affect the arms quite a bit. And a couple of the participants actually had not just the upper arm affected, but they actually had a wrist cuff. So that abrupt ending of the fat tissue at the wrist that made it kind of look like a cuff there, which means that it wasn't just the upper wrist. So that was really interesting that the participants all had the arms affected. But also another interesting thing about these participants is they all also had lymphedema, likely caused or secondary to the lipedema. So there was lymphedema not only in their lower legs, but also in their arms. So they were going to be using this pump on both arms and legs. So that was very, very interesting. Some more about the participants is that 2 of them had a gait issue with their legs interrupted their gait, while as one had a normal gait. And I'm going to get back more to that later because it was interesting the effect that it had on the outcomes of the study. And also one had a pretty solid experience with using pumps or a pneumatic pump. And one had a little bit of experience and one had no experience. So it was pretty much the 2 of them had little to no, and the other had quite a bit of experience, which I think also impacted some of the outcomes on the study. And then a little bit more about these participants and how everybody did. Okay, this was another interesting outcome. So they were supposed to use it once a day for an hour over a period of 3 months. So they took all these measurements, all this data before they started using this non-pneumatic device, and then again in 90 days or after 3 months. And there was a differing application of actually using it that often. Only 1 participant used it daily. 1 used it 2 to 3 times a week, and 1 for once a week. But when we aggregate all of their outcomes together, they all gained almost 5 pounds during the period of 3 months. Did this have to do with using the pump, or is it just a function of having lipedema? I'm inclined to think it probably is a function of their lipedema, because everybody lost fluid, not only in their arms and legs, but also in their trunk. And so sometimes we worry that if we're using a device just on the limbs and we're not addressing the trunk, that it's going to build up in the trunk. And so maybe a weight gain was that they just displaced all the fluid in their arms and legs in the trunk. But this was not the case. They all lost fluid everywhere in their body, arms and legs and the trunk. But yet there was that weight gain average of about 5 pounds. So something else was going on there, not sure what, but that was good that they reported that. So we saw that outcome happened. So then how did each individually do? So the first participant, she she did not have wrist cuffs, so it was mostly in her upper arms. She had no, she actually did not have ankle cuffs. But she had lymphedema in the arms and legs, and she had kind of a waddling gait or a disturbed gait. And she did very well. She lost fluid. She lost actually fibrosis, so the tissue texture was softened. And she was the one, I'm just going to double check. She used it for, she was the one who used it for 2 to 3 times a week. So she did not even use it, the full daily recommendation, but she found it very easy to use the device, and it seemed to actually help her walking. She said that her jeans felt less tight. She felt in general much more comfortable, and she reported increased quality of life. This is the one that had a little bit of experience with a pneumatic compression device, and she found it. So I thought it was interesting that she had the disturbed gait, but she did better with walking around and using this product on her legs. And she had very good outcome and using it 2 to 3 times a week. Subject number 2, very interesting. No gait disturbance. And she did have wrist cuffs, and she did have ankle cuffs. She had the most experience with the pump. She actually did not like this pump so much, even though she did reduce in fluid. She did not think it was comfortable to wear to walk around. So the person who did not have a gait disturbance, she found that wearing that pump was impeding her gait, and she did not like walking it around. So almost like it was the opposite of what you would think would happen. And so, but overall, she had good outcomes. She was just like everybody else. She gained a little bit of weight, but all the water went down, but not thrilled with the product. Whereas now the third participant, again, that person had the gait disturbance. She had wrist cuffs, and she had, let's see, do we have the ankle cuffs? Yes. So she had quite a bit of fluid in there, along with her lipedema, and she did well with this product. So she said it was fine to wear while she was walking and stuff like that. And she actually, the person who didn't like it, she only used it once a week. This last person who liked it, she used it daily, and she did fabulous with it. So both of the people who had a gait disturbance actually liked putting this on and having it be portable and walking around with it. So very interesting with that. So overall, the participants had decreased pain, improved quality of life, decreased fluid content, and a mild increase in weight. Overall, it sounds like something that is worth looking into if you are someone is more active, and despite the person who had the normal gait did not care for the product. It seems like that if you are someone with lipedema who is active, to have that muscle joint pump coupled with having this device that does the compression acting like a pump, I think is worth looking into for the lipedema population. So very interesting paper, and we will post the link down below in case you want to read the paper for yourself. I found it very interesting, so check that out. And I just want to check to see who is posting. Thank you so much for joining me here today and saying hi. We have Terry from San Antonio and Cheryl in Wisconsin, and she says, yes, the title is a mouthful, but it seems to be something required with research papers that you have to make it as lengthy as you possibly can. And Sherry is here with us today, as well as Julie, my neighbor from Camarillo, California. And it is sunny today. Julie's got 70 degrees. I think I'm a little bit less here in Ventura, but otherwise, good weather. I have a couple of announcements for you as you guys are still posting, and make sure if you have any questions or comments to go ahead and put them in the chat. But let me give you a couple of announcements, because we're having a wonderful heart-to-heart event coming up in April, and the super early bird for that to sign up for that event is ending on January 23rd. That's just next week. So if you want to get that super early bird price, you need to sign up now and use the coupon code that we have posted there, HM24-A97, and make sure you use that coupon code and register. We hope to have you join us for this virtual heart-to-heart event talking about keto and beyond, happening in April. So be sure and sign up for that. Couple other things are coming up too that I want to tell you about. There's 2 free webinars coming up, so please join us for those. The first one is about pain management. This is a big issue for women and individuals with lipedema, and so we really want you to join us if you can. Remember, as long as you register, you can get the replay. So if you're not available on January 22nd at 6 p.m. Eastern, you can, as long as you register, you can still get all the information. We love to have you there, because we always have a nice discussion after the presentation is over. So please follow that link and join us on January 22nd at 6 p.m. Eastern, all about pain management for individuals with lipedema. The next free webinar that we have is also coming up really soon, and that is on January 24th. That is going to be with Dr. Perrin, an osteopath who has developed a fabulous technique that helps with conditions like chronic fatigue and COVID, and we think might also be potentially very good for people who have central lymphatic dysfunction, so dysfunction with your thoracic duct and other big pathways through your trunk. And so you need to join us for this webinar. And as always, if you register, you can get the replay and find out more information. We really want to encourage certified lymphedema therapists to join us for this, because of its potential for helping with central lymphatic dysfunction. This may be something that you need to know about helping your patients. So Dr. Perrin is going to be giving this free webinar on January 24th at 1 p.m. Eastern, and talking about his technique, also as more information about a workshop, because Dr. Perrin is coming over from England to the U.S. to Boston in the first weekend of February. And so if you are a CLT and you're considering maybe getting certified and learning this technique to benefit your patients, you want to be at that free webinar to find out more about it. And then, of course, Dr. Perrin will be here to a limited size. There's not a lot of room, but there is still a couple of spots left. So I want to let you know that you need to find out about this process, and then potentially join us in Boston February 2 to 4 when Dr. Perrin is here. So make sure you sign up for that. Again, if you are not available, register, you'll get the replay. So those are my major announcements, and I'm looking in the chat to see if anybody else has any other questions or comments. I'm not seeing that, but again, my email, leslyn@lipedemaproject.org. If you have any questions, or if you have any papers you'd like to review, please be sure to let me know. And I see that Olga just asked, is this device available for purchase? Yes, it is. And it's also covered by insurance. So this is, the device is by Koya Medical, Koya. And if you go to their website, just Google Koya Medical. The particular product is called the DaySpring non-pneumatic pump. And so check that out. I think it's something worth looking into, particularly if you're active and you can use that muscle joint pump along with compression. I think it might be particularly helpful for a lot of people. So check that out. It was so wonderful being with you again today, as I am the first and third Thursday of the month at this time. And I look forward to getting together again to talk about another paper. So see you soon, everybody. Bye-bye.